Who in the chat would like it if Overwatch was 3-2-1 instead of 2-2-2? Oh my god, there's a lot more no's than I thought, actually. Why? I thought that it would be about 50-50. With the amount of DPS players in the game, I actually thought that there would be a lot more people in my chat who wanted that to happen. You like playing tanks? You love playing off tanks? A lot of tank mains in the chat. Yeah. I think that 3-2-1 would be a bad idea. I can see the appeal for it, certainly, because the queue times are the biggest issue with 2-2-2. You have roll queue. It's been beneficial for the game in terms of making sure that there is at least some level of order in the games. You don't have to wonder about what you're going to play when you get in. You don't have to fill for some dickhead who just insta-logs Genji and his 3 mates who all insta-log DPS as well. And I think that it's provided some stability to the lower level gameplay. But the queue times are really quite long. And that's not a great thing for the game, and it's definitely something that the developers have talked about them working on. And one of their solutions was 3-2-1, where you play with 3 DPS, 2 supports, and 1 tank. But I really think that I think, did they say something like they were going to put this on the PTR? I feel like this was an idea that had legs. Like, didn't I read that it was going somewhere? Like, they were going to trial it. Oh, is it just internal testing? Okay, maybe I was wrong then. They internally tested it for 3 weeks? For 3 months, sorry. Oh, okay. I must have misread then, because I thought they said that they had intentions to trial it in some kind of game mode or PTR or something like that. But okay. I don't like 3-2-1 because it essentially tells off-tank players to gobble a cock. It really does. All of these people that have put so much time and effort into Overwatch and trying to make it at a pro level, or just enjoy those off tanks, they can just do one, apparently. Because the likelihood is, if they try to compete for that DPS slot on a team, or if they just become DPS players, they're probably not as good as the other DPS players. They've spent their time playing off tank. That was their thing. That was their jam. They're an off tank main. They enjoy playing those heroes. If they just switch to playing DPS and only play the previous tanks that they used to play, those tanks are presumably going to get balanced so that they're more DPS-y and favor DPS player skills rather than off-tank skills anyway. So I don't think it's good for the pro level whatsoever. Like, not even slightly. Nada. I think that's a really bad thing for the pro level. And I discussed this in an upcoming Q&A, actually. Someone asked me, what do I think about if Overwatch League changed from 2-2-2, and next season it was 3-2-1, and the season after that it was 4-1-1, and then the season after that it was 3-3 or whatever. You know what I mean? If that was the thing that changed the format of it, I said I think that would be dreadful because it would harm player careers a lot. All right, he's paid his money. Let's listen to his opinion.
321 would be fun, but not at a competitive level.
321.
It would put some people out of jobs if they couldn't excel at DPS.
Yep.
It would solve the shields problem, but it would create a lot more problems. Also, have a pint on me, bud.
Thank you very much, my man. Thank you very much. Thank you, Insta-Lunch. Paid opinion. It would solve the shield problem, but it would cause a lot more problems. You know what I love? Specificity in my opinions. I love people that have such specific, direct opinions, like it would cause more problems. Okay, let's go through some of those problems though. I think tank players, the single tank player on the team, I think they would hate their lives. At the moment, there's probably only 2 tanks where, yeah, right now in the game, I think there's probably only 2 tanks that you could play 3-2-1 with, effectively. The first one is obviously Wrecking Ball. The second one is maybe Orisa in her current form. I know that they used to play Winston with triple DPS in the past, but I think that Winston at the moment will just get shredded. I don't think that it would be effective. If you were going to play that kind of style, you would play it with the Hammond. You wouldn't play it with the Winston. It's just much more suited to that kind of stuff. So, I think if it became a situation where you had to play solo Reinhardt, even if they buffed a hero to shit, or solo Orisa, I think people would hate that. Because you don't have a dedicated partner to help you along, and your purpose would be more so than ever literally just be the shield for your team. And that might tickle some people's pickle, but I know it don't tickle many people's. Oh, here we go. Another paid opinion coming through.
Chat is lying. They did say they might try to bring 321 out in a test mode.
Ah, paid facts from Drew. Thank you for the fact, Drew. They said they were going to bring out 321 in a test mode. Right, yeah. Yeah, which is why I originally wanted to make a video about 321, because it seemed like an idea that they were still interested in. Whereas hero bans, they were like, no, it's not for us. 321, they were like, oh, we had this idea. It doesn't work that well, but we're still willing to try it. I think 321 is worse than hero bans. I mean, I don't think that 321 is worse than a really bad implementation of hero bans, but I think 321 is pretty bad. Is it fake news? They said they might. Paid news, fake news? Who knows? Anyway, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Tank players, I think, would hate their lives unless they were playing solo Wrecking Ball, essentially. I think that it would lead to less viable ways of playing the game. And that might sound like some high-level five-head shit, but if you really think about it, there's only been a few core ways of playing the game. If you try and sum up styles of Overwatch, there's like dive, pokey compositions, bunker compositions, and rushing compositions where you like rush or death ball or something like that, sniping compositions, this kind of stuff. You know, you can sum up things in broad terms. I think if you were playing 3-2-1, a lot of those would disappear because it's very difficult to be able to hold territory with only one tank. If you only have one tank, you can either hold one position with a shield tank, or you can use that tank to initiate. And at that point, you're either playing rush or dive. So I think it leads to less viable ways of playing the game, less theoretical styles to play the game in, which I think is a bad thing for the game. It really does reduce creativity, which was that meme that people had against 2-2-2. Now, also, the tank heroes would have to be rebalanced. I mean, that is just obvious, right? Like, nobody is playing solo tank Zarya or D.Va or Roadhog. These heroes would have to fundamentally be changed. And either they would have to be made main tanks so that you could try and play solo tank D.Va, because they're probably not going to make that DPS, right? Or they'll make them into DPS. Like Roadhog, they would probably make into a DPS, you'd have to imagine. I think they actually said that they did make Roadhog into a DPS. I think that this would not be done effectively. I think that the tank heroes are the most difficult to balance in the game. They are more difficult to balance if they can only be run on their own. And you are less likely to have a variety of options if you only have one thing. If you're only allowed to play one tank, there is probably only one or two, maybe three viable options there. If you can play two tanks, even if there's only three viable options, that's 6 different ways of running those tanks. Well, that assumes that you're running main and off as separate roles. I suppose they're kind of flipped and reversed in some sense. But the permutations increase quite dramatically with 2 options compared to just one. And a lot of the tanks rely on other tanks to be able to back them up as well, to give them the support that they need to be able to either make space or control territory or something like that. Now, even if they did manage to make the tank role itself feel good, feels great to play solo Wrecking Ball, feels great to play solo Winston, actually. I feel like a boss. Feels great to play solo Rhine. Like, they've increased his movement speed. I feel like I'm quite fluid. I'm helping my DPS out. I'm providing shields for them. This is sick. It would probably result, at least for the beginning year, in some kind of triple or quad tank setup, effectively speaking. Where Roadhog, D.Va, or Zarya, they didn't make enough changes towards the DPS so that you could essentially run a Rein, a Roadhog, a Zarya, and like a D.Va, I guess. And that would be your 3 DPS and your main tank. But unless they totally fundamentally change the heroes, then you will get very similar situations to triple or quad tank again. Because playing a lot of tanks is a good strategy because the tanks have a lot of utility and health. And if they make Zarya 200 HP and remove her bubbles, she isn't Zarya anymore. She can just track things. So they're gonna keep some level of what they designed the tank to have. Like they keep the bubbles on Zarya, but she's only got 200 HP or something. She's still going to be really effective in previous compositions that saw a lot of tank play. And only if they balance them all really, really well do you get a good 3-2-1. If the balance is slow, you're going to get a lot of triple tank being played. Like if they only tweak the heroes a little bit, you bet your ass you're getting triple tank again. They would have to change the heroes dramatically, which, may I remind you, is something that they said they were going to do for 2-2-2. They said they'd have to rebalance tanks and supports quite a lot to be able to accommodate the shift to 2-2-2. And the balance changes were slow. They said that they're going to increase them, but that does not seem like a good thing to have all your eggs in that basket. Because the game would be fundamentally changed and yet reverted. Like you're trying to go in a forwards direction with more DPS and you end up going backwards towards goats again.